Welcome to another edition of the IPA Interview Series. My name is Marlee Kurdziel. I am here with my dad, David Nigel Kurdziel.
Hello.
You just got inducted into the International Polka Association Hall of Fame this morning. How are you
Yes,
feeling?
I did. On top of the world. What a tremendous honor it is to be a part of that Hall of Fame brotherhood. It's just, it's great. It's like, it's not what I expected. It goes way beyond what I thought the whole experience would be.
Awesome. Yep, great banquet. We'll just go ahead and get into some questions.
Okay, yeah.
Getting to know you and your career. All right. Obviously, you were born and raised in Buffalo, New York, and spent a good chunk of your young adult life living there. How did your move to Grand Rapids impact your playing career, if at all?
Well, yeah, I moved to Grand Rapids in 1994. So, yeah, I met my wife, Linda, in Bay City, and after we got married, we decided to settle down in Grand Rapids because it's her hometown. And being in Grand Rapids really allowed me to play with the Versatones for a lot of years because had I stayed in Buffalo, I wouldn't have been able to, it would have been too travel restrictive. So being in Grand Rapids, easy 2.5, 3 hour ride, and so grateful that I was able to do that with that band. That was, I think 10, 11 years that I played with them. And yeah, Grand Rapids has just been great. It's a fantastic music town. And I'm getting to play with a really super band right now, Jerry Kaminsky's Polka Network. Great bunch of guys. It's just a pleasure to be on stage with them. So yeah, being in Grand Rapids has impacted my career a lot.
Yeah. Shout out to 5th Street Hall.
Oh, 5th Street Hall, yeah, absolutely, our home base.
Absolutely. Awesome. Do you miss anything about living in Buffalo at all?
Oh, yeah, still got family back there. Another great city for music, and especially polka music. Miss the bands and stuff, and miss a lot of the places that we used to play years ago. Miss the genuine buffalo wings because you can
not as good in Grand Rapids.
There's some places they're pretty good, but not quite as good as what you find in Buffalo. The OGs, as I like to say. No B-dubs.
No B-dubs in Buffalo.
No.
All right. Well, with a career spanning over 40 years, are there any fellow musicians that you haven't previously collaborated or shared a stage with that you would like to, if given the opportunity?
Yeah, I'd probably love to do something with Lenny Gomulka, maybe recording or, maybe even just play some jobs with him. Never had the opportunity to do that. Been on stage with him a few times with, playing next to his band and stuff like that, but we never really got together and actually do anything as a band or as part of his band or anything like that. So yeah, he's definitely somebody I would love to collaborate someday with. It'd be awesome. I mean, he's a fabulous musician. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure. All right. Getting into bass stuff. Briefly walk me through your history with Fender bass guitars and why your collection is almost, if not all, exclusively Fender branded.
Yeah, I've played a lot of different basses through the years, but I tend to go back to the Fenders all the time. There's something about them that just work great for polkas. They cut the mix really well. I've played G&L, I've played Hofner, I've played Steinberger, a couple others, Rickenbacker. I think I cut the Live Wire album with a Rickenbacker 4001. And they're all great basses, and it's part of the hobby of playing. You collect instruments. So I like to try different things, but there's something about the Fenders that I just keep going back to. So I think I have 4 Fenders in my arsenal right now. I got the 5-string Jazz, a 75 Precision, a 2001 Precision, and my latest one is a Fender Mustang that I'm using, which I absolutely love. Daphne, nicknamed Daphne after its color, Daphne Blue.
And you're going to be matching your bass tonight,
and
too.
I will be kind of matched up a little bit with the Daphne Blue shirts.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Awesome. And you still have, part of your collection is your first bass that Grandma and Grandpa ever bought you, right?
Yeah, the 1975 Precision, which I call Blondie for its color. It's a natural finish bass. And I like to use that once in a while. It sits mostly in the case at home, but every once in a while I
she has her moment a couple times a year.
Every so often,
Yeah. All right. So why did you choose bass guitar in the first place, and who taught you when you were first learning?
Why I chose bass, something about the instrument that just kind of fascinated me. I think it goes back to just seeing album covers that, were in my parents' collection, jazz album covers and polka album covers, upright bass. There was something about that instrument that just fascinated me, and just the sound of it. And at some point, I just knew that was the instrument that I wanted to play. It just seemed like it was a natural fit for me. What was the other part of the question? You said...
Who taught you when you were first learning?
Oh, when I was first learning, yeah, I had a bass teacher, Rich Dulski, at Johnny Johnson's School of Music in Buffalo, New York. Johnny was an iconic accordion player from the New Yorkers band years ago, and he had a music school. And yeah, Rich was my original teacher. And then in high school, I was in the school orchestra. That's where I studied upright bass. Mm-hmm. And I studied with a gentleman named Nick Malfisi, who was principal bass player for the Buffalo Philharmonic. So that was, it was an awesome experience. I was so blessed to be able to learn from him. And
yeah. So did you start electric bass before the upright bass?
I did start electric bass, yeah. My very first instrument was actually 6-string guitar. Took a few lessons on it. But then I just gravitated towards electric bass.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Awesome. What's your approach to learning new bass techniques, if anything?
It's practice. It's practice and perseverance. It can get frustrating sometimes. I'm finding now that I have to play a little more thumb style than I used to, or a lot more thumb style than I used to, because my hands aren't doing what they used to do at my age. So in some ways I've had to reinvent myself a little bit. And yeah, it can get frustrating, and there's times where you just want to throw the bass up against the wall and say, I'm done, I've had enough. But you pick it up and you stick with it. And that's, again, perseverance, I think, is really the key. Don't get frustrated. Don't let the instrument rule you. You've got to control the instrument. You rule the instrument.
That's your bass.
Yes.
Anyway. Do you have a favorite song or arrangement that you love to perform live? If so, why?
I think right now some of the songs I play with Polka Network I really enjoy. Why Oh Why Polka is just something I enjoy. Just the way the band plays it. It just always feels good on stage. I like the bass line that I'm playing on it. It's just, it's just one of those songs that every once in a while somebody will come up and ask for it, and you're like, yeah, we got to do that one because I'm ready for it. Let's try that one.
Absolutely, awesome. What is the best advice you've ever received as a performer?
Best advice? That's a great question. I think probably appreciate the moment. Appreciate the moment that you're in. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take anything for granted, being up on stage and performing for people. Treat every job you play like it's going to be the last one, And same thing for, recording sessions. It's such a wonderful process to be in a studio and to create music that way. And just appreciate every moment, appreciate the people that you're playing with.
Awesome. This was not on my questions, but it just made me think of this. What did it feel like the first time you entered a recording studio as a new musician?
The first recording session I did was with Steel City Brass, probably 1977 or 78. We did a 45. Lovesick Polka was the A side, and the B side was a country cover that we did called The Shoe Goes on the Other Foot. That was done at Le Mans Studios, Bernie Goydisch's studios in, I think it was Belmead, New Jersey. Engineered by legendary trumpet player and singer Jan Simon, who played a lot of years with it. He was like one of the original Dynatones, I think. And then he moved out to New Jersey, started his own band, the Musical Airs, and was very successful with them. So yeah, I was very nervous going into the studio. I don't think any of us at that time in that band had ever done any kind of studio recording. So for all of us, it was a fresh experience. Didn't know what to expect, but you know, we got through it. It came out okay.
And you were
it was pretty neat.
14 or 15 at the time?
I was probably like 15 years old. Yeah.
So what did you do? Just do that on the weekend and go back to school on Monday?
You mean playing wise?
Yeah, like recording. Like
yeah,
you just recorded an album and then.
Yeah, well, that was only a 45. I don't. Yeah, because the first actually full length album I did was Live Wire.
Right.
So I had done a 45 with the Dynatones when I first joined them, which was the Only You.
What's a 45? A record?
Yes. So well, you don't know what 45s are. We'll call it a single.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. Which was that was pretty cool because that was my first time recording at Peppermint with Gary Ramey. Tremendous.
In Buffalo?
No, that's Youngstown, Ohio.
Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah, you met Gary earlier, and he's such a tremendous recording engineer. And the one thing I remember about doing that 45 with the Dynatones was originally we were going to do the A side was actually going to be Zusha Polka. Iconic, but we had a different arrangement. We were using, I think it was like the Little Wally arrangement for that one. And Scrubby I remember he had kind of like a mental block playing it. He kept making mistakes. And we
like the same mistakes?
Yeah, he just couldn't get through the song for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And you know, at some point we just scrapped it and we decided, I think we ended up doing Jish DeBille and Only You instead. And I think back to that, and you know, one of the biggest, if not the biggest hits for the Dynatones was the Zusha Polka off Live Wire. But when we didn't do the original version that we had set up to do in Peppermint Studios, we reworked it and we did the version that was a little closer to the Marisha Dada version, which took off for us. I mean, it was great. I think had we recorded that 45 with Zusha on there and we did that Little Wally arrangement, I'm not sure it would ever made a Live Wire album. And I don't think, I think the Live Wire album still would have been iconic and stood the test of time, but I don't think it would have been the same album that it was. So there was a little something there, you know, that happened that day. There was a reason why we just weren't supposed to record Zusha Polka that day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but I always remember that. I remember how it just worked out like that.
The universe has a reason for everything.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. And then your most recent recording you've been on is The Project, right?
The Project,
First and 10.
First and 10.
Yeah. How was recording that? How did that all come together? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we did that with John Zalasko recorded most of that. We did a lot of it in his basement, or most of it. And I wasn't even there for the original. I couldn't make the original rhythm section session. I had something going on, so John had recorded electric bass on the accordion, and then I went in later on. And I think I spent like an afternoon. We were very rehearsed, so I knew my bass parts going in, and probably took me 3 or 4 hours, and we got it all done.
That's it, 3 or 4 hours.
That one, went pretty fast. Some sessions drag on. I think recording in general has it's changed so much because it used to be before it was about capturing a performance. Now it's about creating a performance. So sometimes that process with all the equipment that's out there now and Pro Tools and stuff, it can speed it up, but it can also slow things down. So it's just a whole different way of doing things.
I already know the answer to this question, but
okay.
for
well,
the people,
anyways.
For the people, who is your biggest musical inspiration?
Now, are you talking just in general or bass-wise?
Why don't we do both?
Okay, well, in general, I would say Elton John. Grew up loving Elton John. I think a lot of the reason why I chose bass was because of Elton John's original bass player, Dee Murray, who was a tremendous bass player. I mean, someone who had just a gift for melody and putting a bass line together that played off the lyric. He was really one of my biggest influences growing up, which is kind of odd because, you know, he's a rock bass player, I'm a polka bass player. Totally different genre, but you know, I think somewhere along the way I probably picked up some things that he did or things that he inspired me to bring into polkas.
Yeah, awesome. Being inducted into the International Polka Association Hall of Fame has been deemed the highlight of your career.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, do you have any big musical goals or ambitions?
You know, at this point, my age, you know, I start to look at the business differently. I want to see more young people get involved, and I want to do more to sort of help that along. This festival this year, I am seeing a lot more young people.
Absolutely.
A lot more young musicians, which is great. We need that. We need to have that to keep this music going. And you know, I want to find ways to play a role in bringing more younger people into the music, not just as musicians, but you know, people attending the dances and getting out there and supporting the music. It has kind of dropped off in years, unfortunately. Times we live in have changed. You know, kids have different interests and stuff like that. But you know, I want people to understand that, you know, it's not strictly, you know, your parents' music. It's a music that can, you know, young people can enjoy. It's music that you don't have to be Polish, you know, to enjoy and appreciate. So, you know, for kids that are out there, younger people, bring a friend, man, bring them out, expose them to the music, and let them see what this whole, not only what the music is about, what the whole industry is about, because it's really a special thing that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice do you have for younger musicians in this industry, or maybe outside of the polka industry, just in general?
Don't be afraid to be innovative. You don't necessarily have to change the world with your playing, but always try to advance the music, advance what you've heard, build on that. Don't be afraid to take advice from people. Don't be afraid to take advice and direction from you know, other band members. It's all that stuff. It's a part of your playing. It's a part of the whole process of being in a band. And you know, you're all out there for one reason, and that's to entertain the crowd and make good music. That's the goal. So yeah, just follow your instincts, be true to what you guys you know, feel is the right direction to take the music. You know, when I started out, I wanted to get the bass a little more involved in the musical arrangement. I wanted bass to be a little bit more in polkas than just considered a bottom end instrument. So, you know, for me, I was throwing a lot of ideas up at the wall and just seeing what stuck. Sometimes it worked. A lot of times it just went totally bad. You know, it was obnoxious. But you know, you pick and choose the things that work, and you find things that work, and then you build on them.
You live and learn.
Yeah, you live and learn. Exactly.
Play and learn.
Yeah. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail. That's all part of the learning process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's the biggest thing that you hope to be remembered for throughout your career, personally, professionally, in general?
You know, I mean, I obviously, you know, love that people know me as being a musician and a bass player. It's become, you know, part of my identity, but you know, ultimately, I just want people to look back and say, yeah,
he was cool.
He was cool.
Alright.
He was a good guy. He was a really good dude. We had some fun, you know.
Yeah.
He was just a good all around guy. That's the main thing. And to be a good, you know, considered a good dad to you and Ben and stuff like that. Just a good friend to people and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who are some of your biggest influences in the polka industry?
As far as playing bass?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think, you know, early on, Alan Krupski from the Crew Brothers was a big influence on me. Alan was a tremendous bass player, still is, very tasteful. You know, he just always played the right notes for the right part. And, you know, he never overplayed, which, yes, I am known for doing that. But especially his years with the G notes when he played, it was always just a pleasure to go out and hear him, and just to see how he crafted his bass lines. Just really nice stuff. Vinny Horashak was a very big influence on me. He kind of opened my eyes to what bass could do in polkas, the more aggressive stuff, rhythmically, and you know, with chords and things like that. I'd never heard a bass player do anything like that in polkas before, and it was something about what Vinny did, just, you know, it really stuck with me. So I did sort of take a lot of things that he did and, you know, sometimes put it in a different direction in the arrangement, and tried to come up with my own ideas to build on, you know, some of the things that he taught me. Eddie Blazonczyk, fantastic bass player, really. I think somewhat underrated, because everybody knows Eddie. When they think of Eddie, they think of him as, you know, great singer, which, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, great songwriter and everything. But his bass playing, he could drive a band like no other bass player. I don't think I've ever heard a bass player that could drive a band and a rhythm section the way Eddie did. I mean, just when I was playing at the Versatones, it was like, I tried to play bass parts that I knew were respectful to what Eddie did, but I knew that I couldn't be that driving force the way I don't think anybody can.
Absolutely.
Vinny Bazzarelli from the Sounds and TBC and a bunch of other bands that he played with. He was just another bass player that I think he taught me, you know, pay attention to the melody, you know, different options for notes besides the basic root and fifth. You know, he would try different inversions and stuff like that, and really lay down some really cool bass parts that, you know, I just always admired. And then, you know, if you go outside of polkas, getting back to Elton John, Dee Murray again, just a fantastic bass player that, you know, I just followed for years, and got to give him a shout out, because just one of my biggest influences.
Absolutely. Awesome. What about Gino Kurdziel?
Yeah, Gino, you know, I love Gino. Gino with the G notes, man.
I was waiting for you to say
years
something.
Ago. I mean, he was a simple bass player, but you know, he was so cool, and just a great front man. And you know, he was kind of the front man for the New Yorkers years ago, sort of the patriarch of the Kurdziels in polka music in Buffalo. So yeah, you know, I have so many great memories of going out to, you know, church picnics, and, as we call them in Buffalo, lawn fates, and seeing the G notes play.
Call it what?
Lawn fates. That's
Lawn
what they were
fates?
called, yes. Lawn, and then F-E-T-E.
What is that?
It's like, well, it's like a church picnic, but they called them lawn fates. And they used to have, so many of them used to have polka bands years ago. So that's kind of like how I got, you know, really started to get exposed to the music, because, you know, my parents, grandma and grandpa, they would take us out to, you know, these lawn fates and hear the bands. And, you know, it's like, there's Gino up there. And, you know, my dad would tell me, well, that's your cousin. Wow. It's like, yeah, I got a famous cousin.
There you go.
So, yeah.
There you go.